Zillow just lost billions in market value, and it wasn't because mortgage rates spiked or home prices crashed. It happened because Google is testing something that could completely change how people search for homes. And if this rolls out at scale, it could quietly dismantle one of Zillow's biggest advantage. Today, we're breaking down what Google is doing, who they're partnering with, and why Wall Street has reacted so fast, and what this means for buyers, sellers, agents, and investors. So let's get very specific about what Google is actually doing and who they're working with. Google is not becoming a real estate brokerage. They're not selling homes. They're not replacing agents. Instead, Google is partnering with licensed real estate data providers, and one of the most important names tied to this test is HouseCanary. If you're not familiar with HouseCanary, they're a real estate data and analytics company that provides a few things: property and valuation data, automated home value models, market forecasts, and MLS-grade listing data to banks, institutional investors, and major real estate platforms. This is infrastructure level data, not a consumer website like Zillow. So what Google appears to be testing is using HouseCanary's data pipeline along with MLS and brokerage feeds to surface actual home listings directly inside Google search. So instead of Googling homes for sale near me and clicking on Zillow or Redfin, Google may actually be showing you listing, prices, homes, photos, location context, and filters, all without leaving Google. The agent and brokerage will still exist, and the listing routes back to a provider, but the discovery layer is the very top level in the home search, which will now happen on Google if they scale this out. So why is this a direct threat to Zillow? Here's the key thing to understand about Zillow. Zillow does not sell homes, they sell attention. Their business model depends on massive consumer traffic being the first stop in a home search, and then monetizing that traffic by selling leads to agents. If Google intercepts that traffic before it reaches Zillow, Zillow's leverage drops. Less traffic means fewer leads, lower ad revenue, less pricing power with agents, and slower long-term growth. That's why this Google test immediately set off alarm bells on Wall Street. And speaking of Wall Street, why did they react so fast? After the news of this broke, Zillow's stock dropped sharply, wiping out billions in market value. And this wasn't panic selling. This was institutional investors recognizing platform risk. Any company that depends on Google for traffic is exposed the moment Google decides to compete instead of refer. And investors have seen this exact pattern play out before. Google starts by indexing the web and sending traffic. Then they add a helpful feature. They keep users inside of Google. They did this with flights, hotels, restaurants, shopping, and many other local services. Entire industries went from depending on Google to competing against Google. Real estate is one of the last major consumer verticals where Google doesn't fully control discovery yet, and housing represents trillions of dollars. So what would this mean for buyers if this completely rolls out? For buyers, this could actually feel very convenient at first. Fewer clicks, faster comps, everything is in one place. But when one platform controls discovery, it also controls what gets shown, what gets buried, and who pays to be visible. Over time, that usually means less transparency and not more. What does this mean for agents and sellers? For agents, this could raise costs. Zillow already operates on a pay-to-play model. If Google becomes a new top of funnel, agents may now be competing across multiple platforms just to get seen. That increases customer acquisition costs, especially for smaller independent agents. But is this going to kill Zillow? No, not immediately. Zillow still has a lot of brand recognition, there's a lot of consumer trust, and there's many MLS integrations that they already have. On top of that, they've also got a wide relationship with many agents nationwide. But it does force Zillow into a tougher position. They're going to need to differentiate beyond listings, add real consumer value, and reduce dependence on Google traffic. This is no longer just a housing story, it's a tech moat story. So what's the bigger investment takeaway here? The bigger lesson here applies far beyond Zillow. Any company that doesn't control its own customer acquisition channel is vulnerable. This is why investors obsess over moats, distribution, and ownership of the customer relationship. Google entering the real estate search forces the entire industry to rethink who actually owns the customer. So here's the real question. Does Google become the front door to buying a home, or does Zillow adapt fast enough to defend its position? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd love to get your feedback and hear how you feel about this new test that Google is running. I hope this helps you understand more about what is going on. If you liked it, hit subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next video.